It took me 10 years and over $30,000 to get the healing practice that you're going to get today. Today, I'm going to teach you how to heal limerence once and for all. But first, let me define it for you. Limerence is defined as a state of intent infatuation with another person, and it's often characterized by intrusive thoughts and a desire for them to really want you back. It often feels like an addiction. And the way that I experienced limerence was a deep desire to be wanted. And that led me to obsessive thinking. And sometimes it felt like I was going crazy. So if any of that resonated with you, stick around, because today I'm going to give you the 5-step protocol that I created to heal limerence in my own life, and you can use it too. So if you would have asked me 5 years ago what the word limerence was, I wouldn't have known the answer to that. So I don't want you to get hung up on the word. And honestly, I highly recommend that you don't even label it as limerence. If you have obsessive thoughts, and this has happened to you multiple times, where you obsessively think about somebody, you don't tell them you have a quote unquote crush on them, but you obsessively think about them, and it is affecting your life, like it is taking hours and days and months and years away from your life, this is the video for you. So before I jump into the exact steps I want you to take this weekend to heal yourself from limerence symptoms, I want you to tell you why you might want to listen to me. I'm Nina. I'm a trauma-informed life coach. I am a complex trauma survivor, and I have struggled with limerence over the last decade. And what I do and what my mission is to help women heal from the imprints of trauma on your life. And that's exactly what limerence is. It's an imprint of trauma. It's a symptom of trauma. So the truth is, I had a pretty shitty childhood, and anything that you could imagine that's terrible that a little girl would walk through, I walked through it. I spent almost 40 years with those imprints of trauma on my life until I had an awakening and healing journey, and that led me to help other people. So I'm really here to give you the tools that I really needed and I didn't have back then. A few years ago, before I started my deep healing and awakening journey, I stumbled upon a YouTube video on limerence. Before I knew what that word was, but I was really seeking help. I knew that something was quote unquote wrong with me. I thought I needed to be fixed. I thought I was crazy. I was full of shame. I thought my friends would think that something was wrong with me if I shared what was going on. And, and sometimes I did, but then they would, tell me that I was crazy and I needed to get over it. And that person didn't like me. And why would I stay hung up on somebody who didn't like me? And it was just this vicious cycle of shame. So I dived down the rabbit hole on this topic, and I want to encourage you to not dive down the rabbit hole on this topic. And if like you're like, yeah, that's me, then stop at this video, okay? Don't dive down the rabbit hole anymore, because what I found was that video after video after video, people were telling me and helping me identify what it was that I was struggling with, but nobody was giving me the exact tools to heal it. And that's what I'm going to give you today. So here we go. Now that you know what it is, let's actually heal and break free from the chokehold this has on your life. The first step that you must do is you have to make sense of it. Make sense of your specific wound flavor. Because the truth is, you're not broken, you're not crazy, you're wounded. You have a wound. Now, I want you to imagine that you're 5 years old and you break your leg, but nobody takes you to the hospital, nobody takes you to a doctor to get a cast on it, and your leg never heals properly. So then you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're walking around with a limp. That is what childhood trauma unhealed is. It's actually a wound that never healed correctly. And worse off, most of the time, people tell you, you didn't break your leg. It's like, oh no, you didn't break your leg. There's nothing to be healed. And you feel gaslighted about it. That's exactly what unhealed childhood trauma is until you heal the wound. So a limerence is a symptom of abandonment, neglect, or abuse. Now, number one, you must make sense of it, because if you don't, you're going to walk around full of shame. Shame is a breeding ground for limerence to survive. Some complex trauma survivors turned into creating fantasy in their mind when they were children, and that helped them survive. That might be part of your wounding. For me, I had this story in my mind that somebody was going to come and save me. That was the way that I survived my childhood. And eventually it stops feeling like it's helping you, and it starts taking control of your life. So it's not to be ashamed of. And the antidote to shame is actually self-compassion. And this step is going to help you create self-compassion in your life. So if limerence is an issue, your brain has something confused. It has pain and pleasure confused. So it's a roller coaster of dopamine, and it crashes when you don't get the reciprocation that you really want from the person, but it only survives if there is no reciprocation. That's why when we're in limerence, we don't actually tell the person we have a crush on them, because the limerence doesn't survive that way. If you're just having a crush on someone, that's not limerence. Okay, let's just make sure you know that. It's not the same thing, and you'll know the difference between a crush and having limerent behavior. I'm going to ask you to make sense of your specific situation, but I'm going to give you my example so it gets your mind flowing. So for example, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be wanted by my mother, but my mother was a drug addict. So she wasn't available for that often. And then I wanted to be wanted by my father, but he lives in another state. So he wasn't available for that. Little did I know, both of my parents wanted me, but in my mind, I created a story that something must be wrong with me and they didn't want me. And the way that I survived is I wanted them to want me. And I created fantasy about being wanted and about being saved. And that came with me throughout my whole life, even into my adult life, into my 30s and 40s. So I developed this part of my psyche and my nervous system that focused on the desire to be wanted. I wanted to be wanted. And limerence actually didn't show up in my adult life until my late 30s and 40s after my divorce. I was in a relationship for over 20 years. And so I started to experience this obsessive, compulsive thinking and behavior about certain people. This even happened one time after I had only a phone relationship with a guy. So trust me, I know this type of crazy that you think you are. I had only a phone relationship with this guy who told me he would not ghost me. And then he did. And then I spent days after searching online to see if he had been hospitalized or he died or something, because why would anybody like ghost me? And I spent months obsessively, compulsively thinking about this person I had never met. So trust me when I say that the antidote to shame is self-compassion. And the way that you gain some self-compassion is you get out your journal. You get out your journal and you make it make sense. Here's what I want you to ask yourself. Why does it make sense that a part of me, maybe a younger part of me, has a pattern of obsessing over someone and wants to be wanted? Why does it make sense? When did that behavior start in your life? Why does it make sense for a little part of you to have this experience of life? You have to make it make sense, because if you don't, you're going to spend your life in shame. And shame is the place where limerence survives. Shame says something's wrong with me, but nothing is wrong with you. You literally have a wound that we're going to heal together in the next 4 steps. Okay? So now I know you want a quick fix, but there is no such thing as quick fixes to limerent behavior. No amount of times going to therapy and a therapist telling you that you're crazy and this person or guy or girl or woman or man does not want you back or doesn't love you back, and this is a fantasy. No amount of them telling you that is going to fix it. If that were true, we wouldn't have thousands of videos on this topic on YouTube and we would not be suffering. Okay. So After you make sense of it, I'm going to recommend that you set aside a weekend for the next 4 steps. Okay, so steps 2 and 3 are going to be on day 1, steps 4 and 5. And 5 is ongoing, but steps 4 is going to be on the next day. So try Saturday and a Sunday makes sense, but wherever you have some spaciousness in your life, that's where I want you to allow for some healing work to be done. And I'm going to tell you the exact way to heal, but you have to allow some time in your life to do this. I know. I hear you right now saying, no, Nina, just tell me how to make it fast. The steps I'm going to share with you next, they're simple, but they're kind of hard because there's your ego, the mind, whatever you like to call it. There's a small self in there that wants to repeat the patterns of the past. That's how it survives. And you can use a scientific approach and think about the brain wanting to repeat the past to conserve energy, or you can think of it as a small self or an ego who is really trying to protect you. So it wants to keep you small and in these patterns that are keeping you from actually enjoying your life. However you want to look at it, it is going to take some commitment. So you will have to commit to a healing journey. And I'm telling you it's possible because I did it. And you're worth committing for. So commit to these next steps, and I promise you, your life will not be the same. All right. So number 2, lean into it. Okay, let me tell you what I mean by lean into it. Lean into it. This is the step that helped me the most, okay? There's a part of you that is in limerence, and limerence symptoms are actually really, really creative. Your mind is making up stories, right? Your mind is taking facial expressions, social media posts, text messages, and it's running with it. It's running with it and making up some amazing real stories. So let me tell you, I have experience with this. Like I said, 4 years ago, I had that experience with the guy that ghosted me. And I had lots of stories in my mind about this person. And it literally went on for months. But fast forward to my most recent limerent experience, which was just a couple of months ago. I came across this post by another creator on the Clock platform. And she said that limerence was a block to your God-given creativity. And when I heard her say that, I was like, oh, a light bulb went on. And so that very day, I wrote a 3-page story, a fiction story, all about how I wanted it to go with this new limerent object, which happened to be a guy that I was, obsessing about. And I wrote this fiction story all about how he had messaged me and told me that he liked me. And that was the very step that started my healing journey, and that I combined with some other tools that I'm going to share with you today that I already knew. And it changed everything for me. So here we go. Step 2, write it all out. Take your journal, take your computer, and write out the story. At the top of your page, I want you to write my fiction story. I'm serious with this, okay? This is going to help you realize that the story is not true, that it's a fiction story. And if you've been on a healing journey and you've done some deep healing work, one way that you can do this, if you feel comfortable to, is to write it from the lens of the wounded self. So maybe there's a 12-year-old self or a 7-year-old self or a 15-year-old self that is the wounded self that is creating these patterns in your life. You can write it from that lens, that story, if you want to. You don't have to go there, but if you have done some inner work, this is advanced, but you can do it. But I want you to write it all out. Write out, like, from start to finish, this fantasy, okay? Write it all out. Have fun. All right. Number 3, now that you've written it all out, I want you to close your journal, close your computer, and I want you to walk away. And I want you to move your body and reassess it. The reason why we move our body in this step is because trauma lives in the body. So you're going to do some sort of somatic practice. I'm going to give you 3 ideas, but you're going to do some sort of somatic practice that gets the energy in your body moving. And we're going to move the energy out of your body. I want you to make sure you leave your journal, make sure you leave your computer behind for this step. And right after you write this story, you want to do this step. Okay. So what you want to do is a couple ideas for you. You can take a walk, minimum 15 minutes, but you definitely want to turn off podcasts. Don't put anything in your ears. Listen to the birds. Feel your feet on the floor, on the ground. Be in quiet, in presence. Be with yourself. 15, 30 minutes, even an hour walk would be great. You want to at least be away from the story for an hour. Okay, so walking is a great idea. The second thing you can do for this is somatic shaking. What you would do is you put a timer on your phone for 3 minutes, stand, legs hip width apart, knees slightly bent, and start shaking your body. Just start shaking and shaking for 3 minutes until the timer goes off. That is somatic shaking. After the shaking's done, leave. Go vacuum, go clean your house, go do something for the rest of that hour, but stay away from the story for that amount of time. Another option is dancing. You can put 2 to 3 of your favorite songs on, let your body move with the music, or let the music move your body. Okay. But definitely stay away from the story for about an hour. Okay. Now, those are just some ideas. If you are not physically able to move your body, you do want to just push yourself away from the story. And at the very least, what you could do is listen to some music that's just instrumental. And think about like using all your senses as much as you possibly can. And then after that hour where you've moved your body, or you've listened to something, or you've done anything creative, you can come back to the story. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to read the story from a lens of reading a friend's story, a different lens, your adult self. Like reading this fiction story is going to really help you see it separate than you. And you're going to become the watcher of your mind. Okay. When you become the watcher or the witness of your thoughts, you are reminded that you are the watcher and not your thoughts. You are the witness and you're not your thoughts. So for me, this practice helped me see that my story, the story my mind had made up, was in fact a fiction story. It was not real. And that's what I hope this will help you with. Okay, the last step, or the last part of this step, because we're still on step 3, take out a journal, a piece of paper, and you're going to write this sentence down 10 times and fill in the blanks. Now, this is a powerful tool that I got from my trauma teacher. Her name is Mami Onami, but it is a sentence, and it's used in many different ways, but I found it useful to use in this situation. You're going to write, just because blank doesn't have to mean blank, or just because blank doesn't mean blank. For example, just because he smiled at me doesn't mean he's my soul partner. Just because he texts me one time doesn't mean he wants to marry me. I want you to write that out 10 times and fill in the blank. Don't let your ego mind talk you out of this step. This is important. You want to really create some spaciousness between your mind and you, and the fiction story and you, and real life and the fantasy. Okay? So if you're still here with me, we are landing, we are walking away. We're going to walk away from this practice. You've just done steps 2 and 3. It's a big lift in a day. So what I want you to do now is like walk away, go watch something funny on TV, hang out with your family, go and take a bath, whatever, get some spaciousness away from it before you move on to number 4. Number 4, heal the root. I call this process trauma repair. I want you to think of meditation and surgery combined, because that's really what it is. We're going to go and access that deep longing that you have to be chosen, to be wanted, and we're going to trace it back to the root wound. Okay? It's a practice that you'll do with your eyes closed, and it's actually really a deeply intimate practice. So because of that, I created a guided audio file for you. Think of like an audio meditation for you. You might also have heard this called inner child healing, but I created an audio for you so that way you can truly break free from this chokehold that limerence has on you. And because I really want you to take these steps and take action with them, I created a step-by-step guide that you can find in the description box below that lays out my complete limerence protocol for you. It's completely free and it lays out each step for you, including this audio step, this guided audio step for you. So listen, you've consumed enough information on this topic. I'm going to encourage you not to consume anything else after completing these steps, because what we give energy to, it grows bigger and bigger. So, in other words, stop consuming and start healing, my friend. After you've completed this step, I want you to be really gentle with yourself. In my world, we call this aftercare. I want you to treat yourself like you were treating somebody who just had surgery, like you were caring for them, you were nurturing them after surgery, because that's literally what you're doing in this step. So lots of love to you. Be gentle with yourself after this step. And let's move on. Step number 5. This is the fun part. You've done the hard work. You've done the hard work. And I want to celebrate you for that. And step number 5 is fun. And step number 5 is beginning a creative practice. This has really changed my life over the past 3 months. And I think it'll change your life too. So think of what you wanted to do as a kid that was creative. For me, I loved to write. I remember learning how to write stories, like the introduction, the middle paragraph, the final conclusion. I was so excited, but my life was so chaotic and I was so much in survival mode that I never got to cultivate a writing practice or a creative practice of any kind. So I want you to think of, maybe it's drawing or painting or crafting or playing an instrument, whatever that creative practice is for you. Maybe it's knitting, anything that's creative. I want you to think about, choose one, just choose one and do it daily. Yes, every day. Do it every day. This is what's really helped me, because the mind is so creative and it's being creative. So might as well channel that creativity right where you want to channel it. So choose one, think about what you love to do as a kid and choose it. And whatever you choose, I want to hear about it. I want you to leave me a comment below. Tell me what you chose, or send me a message on Instagram. Let me know what you chose. That's it. That's the practice. And if you really enjoyed this video, you're going to want to check out this video where I teach you how to uncover your core beliefs.